What's up, Internet? We're going to be taking a trip down memory lane. One of the things that I really kind of love to talk about is, well, the past, nostalgia. And what better way to get talking about nostalgia than going through a stack of pictures that my mother took way back in the day in the 90s. I think almost all of them are from the 90s, maybe some are from the 80s, to be honest. 38. I'm old. I say that knowing that some of you that are watching me are probably older, so sorry. But let's just get into it. Figured we would talk about this one first. This one's pretty basic. The only real takeaway from this is, god damn, look at those glasses. Those are some Harry Potter-esque glasses right there. In this picture, I'm sitting on I don't even know how to describe it. If you have a recliner and you put the feet up, I'm sitting on that. How light was I? How is this chair not tipping over? I used to do that all the time. And I think that's kind of crazy. A few of these pictures here are mostly just looking at my wardrobe like, what? I understand that I had a few items of Dick Tracy memorabilia. Or not memorabilia, what would you call it? Merchandise. I had some of the action figures as a kid. I obviously, like, how old am I here? I'm probably, 7? It's hard to tell. There's no dates on these, unfortunately. Some of the pictures we might get into, if this, is something I want to continue doing, we'll probably have some dates on them and we can get a better idea of how old I was. But Dick Tracy on a kid's shirt? Wild. And here's one that kind of, like, to me, kind of accentuates, like, I wasn't always fat. Like, look at me here. I believe I'm in the range of 13 years old here. Maybe 12. But it's just like, I'm just as skinny as my friend here. And this is the part of the trifecta of how goddamn in to Darth Maul in episode 1 could you be? I owned 3 Darth Maul shirts minimum. Also, look at that fro. Look at that fro. I used to have hair, guys. That's wild. But 3 different shirts. All right, here we are, a little bit younger, a little bit more surprised that my picture was being taken, I guess. Sonic the Hedgehog shirt just says cool, but in the background, and I realize this is kind of cringe, but I find myself on pictures like this trying to, like, go like this and zoom in because you can clearly see in the background here we have some VHS, I assume, Blockbuster rentals, and I'm trying to see, like, what did we rent back then? I can't tell. I definitely remember this sweater or this hoodie or whatever I'm wearing because I remember I used to try and be an artist. I used to try and draw during class. And I remember wearing this and trying to draw the same image and it not turning out too well for me during class. All right, here's a big one. This one settles a memory for me. This was when I believe when I received my first video game system of my own. My first video game system was the Sega Genesis Model 2. And in my head, and the way I always described it to people, was I got, among my first games, Echo the Dolphin, thinking of the first game. When apparently the game that I have in my memory is the second game, Echo the Dolphin Tides of Time. And this kind of settles it, because I definitely wouldn't have had both. So I actually, seeing this, I now know that I have no idea what happens at the beginning of the first Echo game. Because in Tides of Time, that's the one where you have, like, that area to swim around in, and we used to, instead of playing the game, we would just try and get them beached for as long as we could on the rocks, because you could jump up out of the water. And you also see my other 2 games that I have here, the Fantastic Dizzy and Cosmic Spacehead. Those were Codemaster games. They had a weird shape to them. I didn't appreciate them that much at the time. We kept going back to Fantastic Dizzy, thinking that it was going to be that much more of a fun game than it was, and it was really, I don't know, it was not fun. Cosmic Spacehead, Fantastic Dizzy, definitely a part of my childhood, though. Probably jumping forward quite a bit with this one, because we have here me playing the Super Nintendo, and based on the, I assume, Nintendo Power that I have spread out in front of me, this must have been the time that I rented, because I never owned, I probably rented it one time, maybe two times, Super Mario RPG. And I honestly didn't get that far in it, which is crazy because nowadays, when I played the remake, I think I finished that game in like a week. So I could have finished it on a rental. I do know that Blockbuster for a while there had 3-day rentals, which was ridiculously short, because the idea would be like you'd rent it for the weekend. You'd get it on Friday, you'd have to bring it back after the weekend was over. And I know they eventually switched it over to 5-day, or at least that's what I remember. But very cool here. Super Nintendo is a system I got after the Sega Genesis, and it always kind of felt like an afterthought to me, because I didn't really have any, for at least for a while there, I didn't specifically own any games that didn't overlap with my friend up the street. Even to the point where we both owned Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Bust Loose. I remember getting that for probably my birthday and being like, what the literal... Like, I could borrow this anytime. He lives right up the street. Why? You only get so many video games a year as a kid, you know? And I always felt like, wow, that really kind of gypped me on a game for no reason. And I didn't really play it that much because we had been playing the hell out of it up the street. I didn't need it. Jumping forward a little bit in time. See, here's the thing. The first video game system I got was a Sega Genesis. And there's a lot of muddled memories, I would say, on what exactly happened to that Sega Genesis. Because I don't remember, until I was an adult, ever trading anything in to EB Games, to Electronics Boutique, to GameStop. I don't think we really had GameStop that much. I don't remember them, at least. I remember, obviously, that's what they all became. But specifically, I don't remember going to them. Like, we had a Funkoland. But I don't remember what would have happened to my original Sega Genesis. My mother worked for KB Toy Works, as it was eventually known, but Toy Works back then. And if something started going on clearance, she was probably going to pick it up. We were always about a deal. Some of my favorite games, like Worms Armageddon, were because they were clearance down to almost nothing. So I could only assume that this second coming of Sega Genesis, which in my head, before I looked at this picture, I always assumed was the Sega Genesis Model 3. But apparently it was just yet another Model 2. And here we have, what is this? Tasmania? I don't remember what version that was. We have a few different controllers. And we have Sonic 3D Blast, which I honestly hated. Yeah. And this was actually a picture taken at my aunt's house, probably on Christmas. So, the other thing I mentioned with this, look at this hat I'm wearing. This was the hat I wore my entire childhood. I was a Packers fan. I still am a Packers fan. I'm kind of a lapsed sports fan in general, just because I only really care about fantasy football in terms of watching sports. But this thing was through the ringer. Look at all the damage on here. Look at this. Damage everywhere. Would not stop wearing this hat. Now we're going to switch gears into The other thing I'm super nostalgic about, toys. And I think this picture is really cool just because look at what I'm holding. I have from TMNT Dirtbag, and I honestly don't remember the kangaroo's name. But when you shift the picture down, what's that? We have the box for, I don't know where I would have been. Is this, it looks like I'm almost at like a beach. Yeah, I'm at a beach. This is taken in Maine. This is not a beach. This is at a lake. I remember now. This was a place we used to always go. And I must have just gotten Action Master Prowl, and he came with that bike. I do remember that. One of the only... See, I didn't have any transforming Transformers as a kid until we got to Beast Wars. So, really cool. Then we have a series of horrible quality pictures, but I always wanted to do, but had no skills in, obviously, storytelling through action figures and taking pictures of them. So you have my beat up party wagon here, and I don't know what kind of scene I was trying to convey. Obviously, West Coast Avengers, I think it was, Iron Man is trying to save, destroy these people. Like we got Two-Face down here, Bishop, some sort of Beast Wars figure, Cyclops, Shatterstar. Apparently, chaos has ensued. And then chaos continued to ensue. Everybody's still down. Now you can see Spider-Man. I have no idea what I was trying to do. Then what we have here, Ronin Warriors. I was trying to film the good guys facing off against the bad guys. But the thing is, when you're using a, what would you call them? Point and shoot cameras back then, you couldn't tell if things were in focus. So oftentimes you end up with way blurry pictures. And you can see my TMNT toy chest, which I still have. It's actually a few feet from me over here. Not in great condition anymore. In this picture, wow, it's crazy. Like, my memory of the figures I had as a kid is so wild, because you could see Sunspot from Toy Biz Marvel. You could see Ratlore from Motu back there. I still have that figure. I had to recently rescue him from my son because I didn't want him to get destroyed. I let him play with him for like a good long while. And once he kind of like fell to the wayside in terms of interest, I kind of just rescued him back to my office. Not a lot to say in this picture, but it was great. Ronin Warriors, this was another product of my mother working for KB Toy Works, because the figures, as I remember it, came out here before they started airing Ronin Warriors on Cartoon Network Toonami. So I had the figures, and then all of a sudden I started catching episodes of the show, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's what they're from. But when your mother works at Toy Works, or any toy store, I guess, and you have to remember, single parent, once my grandmother had passed away, there was no one to watch me, so I was either on my own, or do I want to hang out for a shift at a toy store and just like wander the toy store thinking about what I want my mom to buy for me. And that's how you end up with a full set of Ronin Warriors. I don't remember if I got these all at the same time. I think I might have gotten one, and then a birthday was coming up, or I don't know. Maybe they ended up going on clearance. I'm not sure. This next picture we have, well, the greatest cat I ever had, Sounder. Or every animal I've ever had, as a kid at least. I always tried to name them something. Like, for instance, I tried to name her Soundwave, and my mom was just like, oh, that's stupid. Hey, there's Soundwave right there. And she always come up with some variation on it to call him, and it was always annoying. And then you also have proof that I had this Pokemon promotional poster way from childhood. And you got some Dragon Ball Z VHS, which I always collected. I think this would have been... Who would have this been? It's a WWE poster. Terry Reynolds, maybe? Tori Wilson? I don't know. Name identify that side boob for me. I don't know. I did have like basically every pinup WWE poster from the WWE magazines or WWF back then.
Hit the subscribe button.
And then you have a series of mostly Christmas unboxings, essentially. And I was always on the phone with my friends back then. It's so weird to think how much we were on the phone in the 90s. And now in 2025, it's like, God, Jesus, why'd you call me? Couldn't you text this? You know, stuff like that. So here I'm opening Shadows of the Empire. Luke dressed as like one of the Imperial Guards, which was one of my favorite figures from the Power of the Force line. And this one I was having trouble identifying until I looked at the Predator already on the floor. So I must be looking at a pair of Predators, I assume. What the hell am I wearing? This is the product of just wearing whatever your mom buys for you, right? And then a better shot of a Christmas morning. It's wild to think. I have no idea what these are. These are some sort of building set that I got that's not Lego. But in the frame, you have creepy crawlers, the Power Rangers, creepy crawlers, a couple Lego sets. Damn. The Power Rangers carrying case. A few more from that. Delving deeper into the creepy crawlers. I really wonder what Lego set that is. I can't really tell from the pictures. And I'm not that well versed on older Lego sets. I was into, well, I guess whatever this is. And then there was those underwater Aquanaut sets that I really like the aesthetic of. Once again, here I am. Always on the phone. Always on the phone. I got Morph and Rogue. Figures always strewn about. Always had shoot up action figures because we had dogs back then. And I would leave them out and then someone would get some battle damage, inevitably. And here I am, even in the process of building this set, I have no idea what that turned out to be honest with you. Let me know in the comments below if you know. All right, more Lego building. Anything else interesting in this one? Why did I include this? Oh, see, here in the bottom right, all of my VHS tapes, right? But then the inkling of Super Nintendo games. And of course, it's once again a thing where you can't tap on it to focus it. Like all the modern trappings of looking at something on your phone, it's just not available to you. All right, here we go. The Motherlode, the last two pictures, the most interesting ones I could find here, just because of the sheer amount of toys that are in these. So let's go left to right. Got the speeder bike with Scout Trooper. Got the Dewback. Super big Power of the Force here for me. You got the Tauntaun, Luke. I can't believe how long I blanked on that. Wow. Shows you how, like, out of Star Wars I am now as an adult. They really kind of screwed the pooch on that one, Disney. I feel like the second Luke Skywalker throws the lightsaber in The Last Jedi, that was probably the closest thing I could think of to everybody's hopes and dreams of Star Wars movies in the franchise in general, just being thrown off that cliff also. Anyway, what else do we got? Hard to, like, I have no idea what this one is. Not sure. But you have Beast Wars Megatron Transmetal. That's pretty sick. I wish I still had that. What are these deluxe figures? Something deluxe. Damn. Let me know in the comments below if you know what that is. I can't make it out. And I'm also trying to look at this through a camera lens. I think it might be a Transformer or something. Oh, it's more Beast Wars stuff, because that is Air Razor, I believe. So it's hard to tell what the other ones would be. And then we have some sort of X-Men Wolverine thing. Let's see what the second picture shows us. Oh, we got some late Marvel figures. Oh, this is Carrion, I'm pretty sure. Or the guy... It's like, really... Is it Carrion? I don't know. He's like green. I feel like he had pumpkin relation. Something related to pumpkins. I don't know. I remember the figure. I don't remember what I called him. There was a certain point in action figures where the figures I got stopped being the characters they were. And it was just like whatever storyline we were going with. Because back then you didn't have usable Dragon Ball Z figures. Not that you really do nowadays today. In terms of like figures that actually have more than 3 points of articulation. So you would just like pretend your Spider-Man figure was Goku. You would pretend your Spider-Man figure was Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. You didn't have Tekken figures, so you would pretend this character was Eddie Gordo. You'd pretend, and it would just be like whatever articulation kind of fit the mold is what I would go with. What is this? Damn. I have no idea what this is. I feel like this is the Death Star that like opened up when you press the button. I don't know. What in the blue hell? New England Patriots. Okay, we must have been getting ready to exchange gifts with my friend up the street, because there's no chance in hell we would have New England Patriots stuff in my house for any other reason than that. So that explains something there. Don't know what that is. And I think that's going to pretty much wrap this up. I do have, this is, once again, a very small stack of pictures. Just took me 25 minutes to go through. So I think if people are interested, this series could have some legs. It's kind of the poor man's version with worse editing, obviously, and still pictures instead of video like you would get on better channels like My Retro Life. But considering we were broke and we did not really ever have video cameras other than like for my preschool graduation, I think that's the only thing we have any video footage of, and I don't even know how to retrieve that. But that's going to do it for today's video. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more, and we'll be seeing you.